Jasper was saying that the stall is here right in the middle of Hall 9. I had a chance to have a look earlier. Please do make your way over there. And I think that's the brilliant thing about this type of facility. We've got all of our wonderful speakers here, as well as the exhibition space as well. Now, this is going to be a really exciting session. Hold on to your seats, because we're doing a deep dive into the sports and technology intersection. I'm going to be inviting back on stage Espree, who was with us yesterday, expertly moderated a few sessions for us. Espree Devora, she's a producer and host of many tech podcasts, flown in all the way from LA, and she's going to be joined on stage by Christine Jeezy, who is a professional rally and off-road driver, and for several years she was driving with Extreme E. So we're very fortunate that they're both here to rev up the engine and to keep the momentum going as we, continue with our wonderful journey through the programming of Day 3 here at Expand North Star, our dedicated and landmark startup event celebration. Ladies and gentlemen, please do give them a very warm welcome. Thank you. Christine and Espree.
So the first thing that you said is not showing your accident. The one thing that I know, you being a leading athlete in the sports industry, specifically the motorsports industry, is it's crazy dangerous, high risk taking. You are the most resilient, courageous person to be able to even do this thing. How did you build up the resiliency to show up no matter how often you get hurt and then recover and go through it again and again?
Ooh, that's a very deep question to start with. I think that motorsport, in the end of the day, it's a continuous challenge. We're always, seeking for, obviously, success, but unfortunately, in most of the time, you're between failure and success constantly, because each race, you can win or lose.
Right.
So it's really hard, mentally to stay up there continuously, constantly, and it is what it is, because this is what we love, so right. That's why we're there. But for sure, there's highs and lows. It's a little bit like a roller coaster. And last year, for example, was really hard. We had a very big accident, and actually, you saw part of the show here. I broke my leg, so I was off for like 6 months.
It's crazy.
So it was pretty hard to be back, and also at the same time, the team kind of drops you out when you're in a bad moment, so that doesn't help. So for sure, I feel that, you have so much passion for something that in the end of the day, you always go for it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not easy, but it's what we do, it's what we love, and here we are.
How did you get started in motorsports in the first place? When did you first have that interest and curiosity in the industry?
Do we have like 4 hours for this question? It's actually a very funny story, because I started when I always loved cars, right? I had like a lot of posters all over my house.
Right.
And, my mom always had people coming in the house like, oh, you have a son, and she was like, yes, Cristino.
Oh,
so it's always
gosh.
been like the joke,
I got that too, because I would always drive muscle cars as a teenager. They're like, oh, that must be your father's or your boyfriend's. I'm like, no, it's me.
It's my car. Yeah. So pretty much one day I was living in the Canary Islands, and in the Canary Islands, as you well know, there's not much to do. So or you surf. Right. And of course, I loved off-road, so it was like perfect. And I see this Toyota Corolla from 1989, so super old, passing by my house, and all I heard was "Mom," and I was like, "Ooh!" So I ran outside. I sat there, and I was like, "What was that?" And since that day, my head was just spinning and spinning. So every day I would go out at the same time to see if the car came back, and eventually, after like a week, the car did. So I have to do something. So I basically jumped in the middle of the road. Don't do that, by the way. And thank God he didn't run me over. But of course, the driver and co-driver, they came out, and they're like, "You crazy, blonde girl?" I'm like, "Can I get in the car?" And he was like, "¿Qué?" So this whole scene was like super hilarious, but eventually I got in the car and I realized, wow, what is this? The smell of gasoline, the power, the car was super empty on the inside. It was just really weird, I just didn't understand. And from that day I was like, I don't know what this is, but this is my life.
That's your life. You were addicted. What would you tell yourself when you first started and you had the perspective of the world that you had, and then today, you've won, 5 awards at this point? It's like so many. You've won so many.
Different ones, yeah.
Like, what would you tell that person at the beginning?
Okay.
What advice would you give? Yeah.
I would 100% say never give up and just keep going. Because, like we were saying before, like this world, it's so hard sometimes. And so, well, of course, we were speaking about the women also in motorsport before. And, at the beginning, it's a very dominant, male-dominant sport. But I think that if I wasn't that naive and that in love and that passionate at the beginning, I would never be where I am right now. So for 100%. Sure, I would say to continue pushing because, sometimes there were moments that, like, for example, we were saying that the motorsport, it's hard because it's a lot of budget normally. So for me at the beginning, I was working in a bar and in an ice cream shop in the morning. So for sure, where do I get like 10K to just, I'm going racing?
Right.
So I was like, you always have to find like another road, And in that case, I was like, okay, so if I build my own car, that means I can race. So that's kind of what, you always have to think to the other way to get
100%.
there.
100%. What can the industry do to foster more women in motorsports?
I mean, right now I feel that, the world is progressing and there's so much
100%.
more, championships and, incentives and help. So for sure right now, it's not like it was before. When I started racing, I was the only girl in the championship and the first ever woman to race. And I remember that when we finished, they were like, on the trophy it says piloto, which is male driver, right? And they're like, we'll just, pen it out and write pilota. And I was like, no, it's okay. So for sure now things have changed so much and, there's so many opportunities and so many championships. And like, for example, in Extreme E, we race a male and a female in each car. So it's amazing because we can, we can learn, we can race, and at the same time, I think that we've shown that, we've made a little space in there and shown that in the end, there's absolutely no different, male or female, you put a helmet on and you're a driver, so.
I'm going to ask you a super vulnerable question that you're not aware of, but I think you'll appreciate it. You're doing so many great things in your career. There's tons of influential people here that would want to support you to take you to even a further level. What is one ask you'd have if someone out here listening and all the people listening, tuning in, what's one ask that we could do as a community to support you and continuing to elevate your career?
I mean, like we were saying before, motorsport, it's budgets and money and contacts, So in the end of the day, unfortunately, to race, you need big amounts of money. So of course, us as a people, I think that just the support, it's amazing already because, like I said, the races are so hard that sometimes, having a person sending you a message, it's already like a huge help. But for sure, any person that has a contact that knows how to, someone that is interested to advertise their business in motorsport or something like that, for sure, it's always a huge help. So I mean, 100%. And we have a surprise this year that you know about that no one knows.
It's really, really exciting.
So soon we'll have we'll show it to the world. But I think that's going to be like very, very, very big. So.
But I think that's an important point that you bring up. If you don't ask, you don't receive. And so how would people connect with you? If people wanted to be a part of your journey, where do they go?
Instagram, email me, whatever, and we can find a way to get things going.
Let's talk about motorsports and the planet. Do you think the future of motorsports is electric?
Ooh, this is a hard question. Okay, I have to say that as a race car driver, I love the engine, the noise and all that.
The noise is my favorite too.
Yes. So it's really hard now to all of a sudden be like, oh no, of course, electric is the future. Yeah, go for it. So, but it is, unfortunately, And if what I always thought is, I mean, what I love is to race. But if we can do something and help, and at the same time race and keep doing what we're doing, why not? And this is what we were trying to do with Extreme E, the championship I raced in. We didn't just race in Senegal. We also did all this legacy program. So normally you race Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We were there since Monday because we went to schools. We showed them like a sustainable way to create, walls for the school.
Right.
And, all these people that had no idea how to do it. And then at the same time we showed, hey, look, we are actually racing here and we are leaving the area better than how we found it. And so we are like cleaning the beaches and like little steps. It's not going to change the world in one day, but I feel that it's already something big, and we're not just not caring. We're also trying to explain our followers, how important this is. Because sometimes it's just that. It's like we said before, the women in motorsport, why can't they race? They can. The problem is that there's no role model, no someone showing you, explaining you that you can do this.
Right.
Then it's hard, so...
this is Expand North Star. What is your North Star? Where are you going? Where's your compass?
I don't know where the car is, I guess.
You're driving to where you go. What would you like to see becomes of your career 5 years from now?
So obviously my dream has always been to go to Dakar. So hopefully Dakar is our nearest objective instead of dream. And from there on, I don't know, I just want to keep racing, doing what I love, and being able to, pass passion to everyone, and if not, at least to stay in the world, and kind of just, we right now already working with a rally school from Italy, so we have a lot of like projects and things going on, and I love to see like kids growing up and racing. So
I think it's really inspiring what you're doing, and I think it's important to be an example of what's possible. So many times, even as women or other cultures, we think and we're told that so much isn't possible for us. And if we just kind of ignore that information and take steps forward regardless, like you were saying, anything is possible to be achieved. Can you share with us some of the accolades that you've gotten in your career, what you were able to accomplish?
Yeah, I actually have many. But for example, like I was saying before someone that at the beginning of my career, I was like, oh, I really want to race, but how can I race? So apart from the mechanic thing, I was like, yeah, but you need money to put your subscription to the race. And I was like, money? Well, what do you mean? I want to race and I have to pay? Yeah. And so I was 17, really young. So I'm like, okay, where do I get money from? Because working in a bar is not like you're rich. So and I'm like, okay, so I start getting sponsors. How do I get sponsors? I started walking in every little shop of my island, like, hi, I'm Christine and I want to become a world champion. Do you want to collaborate? And people were like, okay, how do I collaborate? And there was once this Italian products, and I'm Italian, so I'm like, you're Italian, I'm Italian, I think this can work, And basically I just convinced them to somehow do a partnership, and they're like, okay, but we don't have money, we can only give you mozzarellas. And I'm like, mozzarella? What am I doing mozzarella? Yeah. Like, okay, mozzarella, why not? And I started selling mozzarellas.
Stop.
To like create a budget for my championship.
Wow.
So I think that there's always a way, It's just that sometimes you really need to be creative and inventive and so on. So and actually that first year was the year that I won my first championship.
Yeah.
So it was really exciting, because it's just I think that when you put a lot of effort in it, good things come, for sure. And like we said before, unfortunately there's highs and lows, and sometimes those lows are really hard to overcome, but in the end, if it's what you want, you'll get there.
As you know, I host the Women in Tech podcast, and I asked a question on every single podcast episode. It's one of my favorite questions, and it's, what is a piece of advice that you've been given that's helped accelerate your career at any stage of your career?
I think that there's a lot of advices that I've been given to, but probably, sometimes when you talk to like really experienced drivers, they always tell you like, literally don't give up. And you sometimes just get it, like gets in and goes out on the other side. But I feel that if you really think about that and say never ever give up, it really helps, because I had so many moments in my career that I'm like, listen, I've done enough, like I'm over,
Yeah.
And then, you just keep going back and thinking, okay, you know what, no, there must be another way,
100%.
Yeah.
And that brings me to the last question I wanted to ask you, and the most important question is challenges. What have been some of the significant challenges that you've experienced, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Well, like I said before, the mozzarella was a good example, but I think the injury was very, very hard on me, because, the fact that then you get dropped by your team and so on, it's a bit of like mixture of everything.
God, that must be so emotionally depleting.
Yeah, it's hard.
That breaks my heart.
Also because, like, I was at that time, I was so like convinced, I'm gonna be back in 2 months, and the doctor was like, Christine, no, it's gonna take 6 months. I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it in 2 months.
Yeah.
So I was like rehab every day between 6 to 8 hours. The rehab hospital guy, he was on Sunday. He would be like, no, Christine, you're not allowed in today. It's Sunday, and I would be like, please. So I think these moments really get you down, because then you start thinking, okay, and overthinking. Because you're like sitting there in your sofa, you can't move. I couldn't even go to the bathroom alone, and then you look online, all your friends racing, going to the next championship. So you're losing so much like drive time, and it's complicated. But like I said before, there's always another road, there's always a better door that opens and so on, and I really, really believe this, and I've seen this, and that's it.
I think that is beautiful. Again, how can people connect with you?
Instagram, easiest way.
Instagram is the easiest way. For me, this has been Espree Devora with the Women in Tech podcast. You go to womenintechshow.com to listen to this show. Christine, thank you so much for hanging out with Expand North Star. Woo!
Gracias.